I get shit done, I have fun. It's my time and I'm the one. I'm breaking through.
Breaking through walls. That's what we're going to talk about today with my wonderful guest. He's an amazing individual. He's had some interesting, challenging mountains of his own to climb. And as a result of his climb, his efficacy, his ability to get shit done, he's helping many, many people do the same thing. Some people you may know, and others you may not. But hang on, we're going to bring him on shortly. Here's a shameless plug from my own coaching practice. Sure, there it is. So if you're an entrepreneur, business owner, salesperson, and you have a challenge, you have a question for a coach, guess what? I'm one of them, and I have access to a couple of hundred around the globe. So if I don't have the answer to your question, I'm sure we can find somebody who does. And maybe my guest today could be one of those people as well. So if you have a question for a coach, I'll send you the information, or you'll see the information later on in the show today. I'm excited to have this wonderful man come on my show today. He's been so busy, but he's finally been able to fit it into his schedule. You know why I'm excited? Because he's a game changer. He does help people break through. He's worked with people like Grant Cardone, helping him grow his brand. He knows Mark Victor Hansen. I've seen the pictures, and they're good friends. And the list goes on and on and on. He's a speaker, author, trainer, coach, mentor, teacher, father, husband, and an influencer. Ken Walls, welcome to the show.
Phil, thank you for having me. I won't even try to pronounce your last name.
Okay, that's safe.
I butcher it every time.
That's all right. You know what? I'm missing my background. Do you see that?
You are missing your background.
I know. Where did it go?
Happened? We're live.
I know. There we go.
Whew. Oh, there it is.
It was just slow to show up at the party.
Yeah, well, it's all right. So, yeah, man, thank you for having me on your show. I apologize. I think I missed once or had to reschedule at the last minute, and that I hate it when people do that to me.
Yeah, life happens, and sometimes we're human, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things I like about when those happen is I don't look forward to them when they happen, but it's how we react to the changes, the unexpected. That's what entrepreneurial is all about. And if we adjust and adapt, well, we're building up our mental fitness muscle, as you'll see in right above me. Actually, it's above you.
Yes.
So I know that you've helped a lot of people with their own mental fitness with your life. It has not been an easy road for you.
Yeah, it's kind of been all unicorns and rainbows. Not really. No, not at all, actually. No. Yeah, I mean, I've had ups and downs, but I mean, I know you're a Brian Tracy coach, and Brian was recently on my show, and that guy is absolutely amazing. Kind of like Randy. I won't try to pronounce his last name either, but I see him in the comments. Chaffee, is it Chaffee? Did I say it right?
I like that French version. I say Chaffee, but I may have it wrong too.
I mean, it's got to be of French origin. I can't imagine that it's like Mexican or Spanish rather. But Brian, it's interesting because Brian said during the show when I had him on, he said, the moment that we take 100% responsibility for everything in our lives is the moment that we cross over from being a child to an adult. And I so totally believe in that. And I'm sure you do. And you know, I think that bad things happen to everybody.
Mhm.
The rain falls on the good and the bad. And whoa. Did you see that?
I
We just
did.
switched places. Um but whoa, now we're really getting fancy. But you know, I think that one of the most important things that I've ever done in my life is take 100% responsibility for everything going on in my life. Hey, Wes Wyatt. And I you know, I spent many years blaming everything and everyone except for me for everything that was going wrong in my life. And I believe, and Brian Tracy even said it, and many other people have said it, I believe that as long as we continue to put blame on external things, people, places, and things, we're stuck in victimville. And I don't like being in victimville. I don't like having to look at myself in the mirror and say, wow, man, you just spent the last 13 minutes, 13 days, 13 years being a victim. And my favorite quote is from Grant Cardone. And may I hold up the bracelet that I
Yeah.
have?
Let me make it big so everybody can see it. I love it.
That's my favorite. It's like I wear that quite often just to remind myself not to be a victim, because life's not easy for anybody. Like it's, you know, I don't have a, I mean, I have my own unique story, right? We all do. Um but I don't have like unique circumstances. You know, I just I just do my thing, and life throws curveballs once in a while, and you got to figure it out.
Yeah, and I think that's what I like about you from what I know of you. I've only known you for a couple of years now, and because of the change in the way the world was. But it's your resiliency and tenacity to continue on no matter what, because you're, you know, where you started, you didn't make it easier on yourself, and not saying it's easier now, but the choices that you've made to get where you are, to be able to help and get connected with the people that I mentioned, and get Cardone's bracelet on your arm, man, that happens because of the choices you made, how you showed up, how you responded to all the shit that happens, right? But
Yeah.
as my theme song says, we make shit happen. So that's the opposite side of, we, like you were saying, you can be a victim and shit happens, or you can say shit happens and I'm going to use it as fertilizer and grow and make something better out of it. And that's what I've
Right.
noticed in you with the people that have met that have been hanging out with you for a little bit. Like my youngest guest, Luke,
Luke,
right?
what a good kid.
What a
Oh
great,
my gosh. Luke Aberley
yeah,
and Troy, his dad. They're just two amazing human beings.
they absolutely are. And they're leveraging the same kind of thing we're doing here is video and talking and sharing. So I'm glad you're here today, man. It's really good.
I'm honored to be here, man. I really am.
It's
Really honored.
I was, you know, with the Brian Tracy stuff. I first met him back in the '80s. That's how old I am. I'm I was
You
selling.
were two?
That's right. I was selling cars, and the sales manager back then, he says, "Hey, Jilks," and he got my name right. That's maybe
Jill.
because they hired me. But he says, "You like this stuff, don't you?" And I said, "What stuff's that?" He says, "Personal development." I said, "Yeah, I love that stuff. Here's a ticket. Go see this guy. Who's Brian Tracy?" I
Wow.
don't know. Here's a ticket. So I went, and I went to the Phoenix seminar, and one of the nuggets that I got of that 2-day session, besides well, getting to know him and hanging out with him back then, was he said, "You know what? There's this chasm, this canyon, this valley, and you have to jump over it in one leap. You can't do it in two, because if you try it in two, you fall into the valley the valley of excuses. You catch excuse-itis. So I teach
Yep.
that because I am one of Brian Tracy's certified coaches. And I've just been delivering that message to 70 people last week. They're part of a group of employees with a great company, and they're investing in their people. And I'm sharing that message that Brian shared with me, and you just kind of brought up. If you take 100% responsibility, if you take the victor mindset, even if we didn't cause it, how can we make it better? How can we take the crap and turn it into something wonderful? And that's what
Yep.
Randy and Wes do too, who are watching us on the show.
You know, it's, I mean, there's nothing more important. Jack Canfield and Janet Schweitzer wrote a book called The Success Principles. And I believe it's 67 principles in that book. The very first chapter is, ready for it? Wait, drum roll. Take 100% responsibility for everything in your life.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like this. It's, you know, it's not this new idea. It's not like a new, you know, and it's not woo woo foo foo. It's take responsibility. It's not the government's fault. It's not your family's fault. It's not the priest's fault. It's not your weird uncle's fault.
Oh,
It's your fault.
It might be the weird uncle's fault.
Well, he probably didn't help, but you know, at some point you have to take responsibility for your life and say, you know what, I'm the reason. I'm you know, I'm coming up on 20 years of sobriety and recovery. And thank you. I don't say that for applause. I say that because it blows me away, man. My natural state is to have a bottle of Crown Royal sitting next to me and consuming it as often as possible. But you know, I think about the day that this guy looked at me and apparently I had offered him a job in a blackout, and he went and put in his 2-week notice at his current position. And the next night he comes, hey, I put in my 2-week notice. And I'm like, oh, good. Well, what are you going to do?
Oh, wow.
He goes, what do you mean? What am I going to do? You offered me the head installation guy in your company. And I said, you're thinking of somebody else, bro. I didn't say that. And, you know, long story short is he got really pissed off and said, you know, you're nothing but a worthless drunk, and everybody knows it. And he got up and walked out of this really fancy bar we were in. And I felt like I felt like there was this bright spotlight on me all of a sudden. And I felt like everybody sitting there knew what he said. They had heard him, which wasn't the case. There was loud music playing. But I just, in that moment, I said, I've got to change. I've got to make a huge change in my life starting right now. And by the grace of God and a lot of work, a lot of counseling, a lot of coaches, a lot of everything, I've been able to you know, stay sober since that day. And so, you know, I think that you just have to, at some point, you've got to take responsibility for your life.
You know what I like about what you said? Probably my first mentor was a fellow by the name of Leland Val Vanderwall, who had a relationship with Bob Proctor. I got to hang out with Val. I didn't realize what he was teaching until later on in life. But one of the things he taught to us about was kind of what you're talking. He went like this, right? That's an impact. Change happens in two ways. You get the light you get that message in the bar from that guy.
Yep.
Or you constant spaced repetition. So you affirm, set goals, see yourself as you is. You fall down, you stub your toes, scrape your knees, but you get back up because you got that new vision. You don't want to be back in that old current reality. So often it's this thing, it's the catalyst to get us going. The good news is you don't have to have one of those. You could just simply choose to think differently and work diligently to do that. And it
Yeah.
works best when you got somebody in your back pocket like a Ken Walls, who's a coach, or any other coach. It makes it a lot easier to do it on your
That's
own, right?
something that I so believe in. And I don't know where I picked up the belief, but I do know that you look at the great professional athletes of the world, Tiger Woods, who I consider to be one of the best, if not the best golfer that's ever lived. Um, and just look, Derek Jeter. All of these guys have coaches,
Mhm.
and so hence the saying, professionals have coaches, amateurs do not. And if you want to get better at anything, it doesn't matter what it is, you better find somebody that can guide you and help you, that's already been there.
Yeah.
I think
Remi
it's so important.
There's not enough time in our lifetime to start from ground zero. And if you have a coach, they can maybe give you some new ideas and new insights. The other thing they do is they keep your feet to the fire so that when you feel like
Accountable.
we're veering off and chasing a shiny object that doesn't support where you're going, they can ask you about that and challenge you on that and wake
Yeah.
you up.
Hold you accountable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Coaches are a good thing.
I concur. I
And
can.
you're absolutely right. The ones that I know coaches that don't have coaches. I go, wow, and you're a coach. Isn't that interesting, right? Don't you believe in this stuff? It's funny.
Yeah. I have been blessed to, you said Mark Victor Hansen, and you reminded me that I owe him a phone call back. Oops. He called me and left me a message yesterday, and I got too busy. Um, but I am Mark Victor Hansen is the number one best-selling author on planet Earth next to God. The Bible is the only book that's outsold Chicken Soup for the Soul, and then Mark has sold 100 million copies of other books or more. So that puts him at over 600 million books sold in the world. And I'll tell you, I have conversations with Mark all the time, and he's one of the most, if not the most brilliant mind that I've ever spoken to. I mean, he's so smart. And he talks about um his mentors, his coaches, like
Mhm.
Buckmeister, or what's that guy's name?
Buckminster Fuller.
Yes, that
The
he traveled the world with.
Yeah, and they came up with that dome he did, right?
Yeah, I mean, yes, and literally, I just got a text message from Mark Victor Hansen. That's crazy. That is crazy.
Serendipity.
But I listened to him talk about where he's gained and gathered his wisdom from, and it's coaches. And this is a guy and he still has mentors and coaches. I mean, he talks to me, he's like, oh, I was hanging out with what's that 1 billion, the 1 billionaire, the guy that owns Virgin Airlines, Richard Branson.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I was hanging out with Richard Branson, and I'm like, who starts a sentence like that? Mark. That's not me.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's like we gotta if you're stuck in anything, I don't care what it is. If you're stuck and you can't find the answer in Google that solves it for you, or YouTube, then reach up. Notice I said reach up to somebody. Reach up to somebody that you look up to. It doesn't mean that they're better than you. It means you look up to them. I coach people who are way older than I am, and I coach people who are way younger than I am. And they look up to me, and which to me, again, I'm a high school dropout. I in 12th grade, I said, you guys are crazy. They wanted me to get a biology credit. And I said, I hate biology. I'm not ever getting a biology credit. And they're like, well, you have to have that to graduate. I'm like, well, that's a dumb rule. So I quit and I walked out. I said, I can't do this.
Yeah, I could talk,
Yeah.
I could have a whole show about that and the things I've learned about from people like yourself who've had that journey. I've met so many of them, and they've turned air quotes seemingly a disaster into something awesome. Like Brian Tracy, when he introduces himself, often he says, I made the top half of the class possible. He was in the bottom, right? Never graduated. They gave him a certificate to leaving school. Get the heck out of here.
Right.
And he carried on and became one of the well, if you were to look at search his name out there, millions of lists or hits on it. I mean, I remember Darren Hardy was interviewing him, and he said, and when he interviewed him and when he introduced him, he said, this man has something for every week of the year for over the next 3 years, an audio program, a book, a course, etc. He has a lot of stuff. He just got passionate like you did and made shit happen. And one of the other things I want to share about him, and we were in Del Mar, California, and he was there helping us get some training done and getting certified into sales training, which I do. And he said, you know what? I've written a lot of books. And the strangest thing happens? Well, people come up to me and say, Mr. Tracy, I read your book. It changed my life. We all laugh. We go out for a photo op with him. I'm standing there. I'm next in line to get the picture done, and we get interrupted. It says, Mr. Tracy, I read your book. It changed my life. It's amazing. I mean, he is that well known, and he's done really, really well for a guy who started off with essentially nothing. Started out, he thought his career was going to be in washing dishes, washing boats, washing cars. Yeah. And then what did he say? He says once he got fired of that and then nobody had hired him, he took the natural progression in life, and that was to take a sales career.
Yeah. He is, 30 years ago ish, Brian Tracy changed my life, probably about the same time that you found out about him. And hey, Joaquin, I was hanging out with him last night on my Grow Live Academy.
Oh, cool.
I told Brian, I said, back in my early selling career days, I was responsible for going door to door, business to business, and I would chicken out. I would get a bunch of rejection. Then I'd go sit in my car and listen to Brian Tracy or Zig Ziglar, and just try to go. First off, I was a high school dropout with no, serious education. So I felt incredibly insecure about that. And I thought, there was something in me that always said, well, wait a minute. They're teaching us out of these books in school. Who wrote those books? And where in the world did the thoughts that person had to write these books, where did they originate? Where did it come from? And I always have thought like that, like, wait a minute, if you're going to teach me out of a book that you read in a classroom, who wrote the book? What do they really believe in? What's the source of their information? And where did all of this shit originate? Where did it come from? Like, why do I have to believe what you said as to be true? And that's one of the things I love about Grant Cardone is he's like, go look it up. Don't just take somebody's word for it. Just go look it up. Look for yourself. And so that's kind of been the theme of my life is I'm known as, this is not self-titled. Jeffrey Gitomer, I asked him one day, who started calling you the king of sales? He's like, I did. Okay. But like somebody called me the live streaming king, right? And I teach a lot of people how to live stream properly, how to do a show properly, all of these things, podcasting and all that. And I don't take my word for it. Go look for yourself. The proof is in the pudding. Go look for yourself. And I think that Jim Rohn hit my favorite quote probably of all time, just because I am a high school dropout and felt insecure about it. I don't anymore, but I did. But Jim Rohn saying a formal education will make you a living, right? Self-education will earn you a fortune. And it's so true. It's so true. So many look, Phil, I've employed, I don't even know how many college graduates, a lot. And half of them couldn't pour piss out of a boot if the instructions were on the heel.
It's sad.
And I think, what did you just stop? You graduated and you stopped learning, evolving, growing? What? Like, you got it. These books back here aren't just for looks. I read every day. Every day of my life, I read. I write it down. Brian Tracy, right? So I write my goals. I write affirmations. I write things that I want to, or have this burning desire to become. I write that stuff down.
Yeah. Michael Heppel, you know him, right?
I know Michael. He's been on my show. He's a great man.
He is a great man. And one of the things I take from him is his 17-minute rule, and how he came up with that. And if we're speaking of writing, he says, if you write for 17 minutes, you won't write 17 minutes of shite. There'll be some good stuff in there, right?
Yeah.
But if you don't write anything, you won't get anything, right? So going back to what you were saying, being fully responsible for everything in your life. So show up, write stuff down, and push through it. And that's where the magic comes, is in that process of thinking. I've heard that the toughest job for human beings is to think. And there's only about 3% of the population that really think. The rest, they think, and then the other ones don't even think about what they think, if they think at all. And it's in the top 3% where all of the ideas come from, like the Musks and people like that. I mean, being thoughtful and thinking and writing things down, and that's where ideas come from. There's a great, like everything that we have in my office, in your office. I like what Proctor says. We used to say, I'm reaching over out off camera here a little bit. This thing here started off, wasn't even here, and then some ideas got together, and magically this thing. Remember the first ones? They were in a bag phone and carry them around.
That's one of my first sales jobs, was selling those damn things.
And now you've got a mainframe computer, which I used to sell, right in your hand.
Yeah.
Oh, and the mainframe computers couldn't take pictures. Oh, and there was no internet. So all of those things came out of here, because people thought on paper, thought about challenges and problems and trying to fix them.
I'll go even a little bit further than that, and say all of those thoughts came from out here in the ethos, and these guys just learn how to settle their minds down. Dr. Wayne Dyer is one of my favorite, if not my favorite, spiritual teacher ever. And he talks about the gap, and he says the beauty in music is the silence between the notes. And so 18 years ago ish or so, I started meditating every single morning. And it's a non-negotiable for me. I meditate every single day of my life. And I'm looking for that space between my thoughts, because I believe that's where real genius comes from. I believe that's where God exists, is in between our thoughts. People are like, I don't meditate. That's evil. I pray. Okay. So let me explain this to you. Prayer is you talking to God, telling him how to do his job. meditation is listening to God. Now, what do you think would please God more, listening to him or talking to him, asking him to do his job in the way you see fit?
Interesting question. What do people think?
I think that people, I think, it, are you familiar with Joe Dispenza?
Oh yeah,
Dr. Yeah. So
I have,
he talks about that, everybody knows the average human has between 60, 70, 80,000 thoughts a day, whatever.
yeah,
Whatever the number is. I'm curious how they count them,
yeah,
but say it's 60,000 thoughts a day. That 95% of the thoughts that we have today are the same exact thoughts we had yesterday. And that more than 50% of our thoughts, all those stories that we're constantly telling ourselves, those voices going on in our heads, that over 50% of them are made up. They're lies. We're embellishing the truth.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
and we don't even realize it. If I said to you, Phil, how many times has your eyes blinked since we've been on here in the last 31 minutes and 23 seconds? You would be like, I don't know.
No.
Because you don't know. Nobody knows. You don't know how many breaths have you taken? How many beats has your heart made? How many times have you moved your right hand? Your life is on autopilot, and because of your unconscious mind controlling 95+% of everything that you're doing, and people don't stop and take responsibility for that. They don't go, well, I don't they don't think about that. They just get up, have breakfast, go to work, come home, kiss the wife, kick the dog, maybe kick the wife, kiss the dog. Just kidding. But they go on about their day-to-day thing, never stopping to really contemplate what is going on with me. And then one day they die.
And you know what I think that is? It goes back to the theme that we started off early. They don't take responsibility for what's
Yeah.
going on in their life. And they look outside and say, well, my boss made me do it. My wife made me do it. My husband made me do it.
Yes.
Whoever, they give up the responsibility. And when you give up the power, you end up like another Jim Rohn quote isn't around the, if you don't have goals and plans for yourself, then you're going to end up working for somebody who has plans for you and some goals for you. And what do they have planned for you? Not very much. Not as much as if you take responsibility, make your own plans, set your own goals, sail your own ship, and make the world a little bit better, which is kind of what I was hoping we achieved today by sharing a bit of your time. I mean, we could go on and talk for an hour, and I know you're a busy guy, and we're already at the 33-minute mark.
How long is your show?
It goes 30 minutes, but we can go a little bit longer. Yeah, I just try not to, just a bunch of information in a compressed period of time to share it with the people so they can get lifted up. And if they want more, they can reach out. So I don't want to leave before I share this because I got it here ready to go. Hang on. I'm going to share this one right now. This is you,
wow.
right? This is you. This is your site, Ken Walls, Grow Live. This is what you do. This is where you can find him. Oh, wait a minute. Let's make it even easier for you to find him. We've got a way to do that as well. Watch this. Where did I go? It's right there.
KenWalls.com.
Right.
Yeah.
And if that's not enough, we've got other places for you to go and find him. Watch this. I think it's this one. No, I want this one. It looks the same, but it's different. Watch. I'll give you the big address so you can find it. And there that is.
Yeah, that's my personal Facebook page. Yep. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
And
thank you, dude. I appreciate you having me on. I thought it was an hour show. I'm sorry.
No, I would love to stay for an hour. It's just I have other things to do.
I get it. No, it's cool.
Wow, what a gem you are to be on my show and make it happen. Wait, who's this? I can't leave just on time just because
Eric.
Because it's time to go.
I never know how to say his last name either. I always get it wrong. It's not Flournoy. It's like it's
Flournoy.
Flanoy.
Flournoy. You
Flournoy.
should write it phonetically so we could get it right.
I'm pretty sure it's Flournoy.
Oh, no, it's
Flournoy.
actually Eric.
Yeah. Right. Hey, Mr. Eric. Like, yeah, he's such a good guy. I love that dude.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Hey, one thing, maybe we've already said it in responsibility, but outside of responsibility and hiring a coach or a mentor. Oh, wait, here we got it.
I got it. It's Flournoy. Told you.
Flournoy. There we go.
Yeah.
What's one thing you'd want to encourage our viewers today, whether they're watching it now live or on the replay?
Outside of taking responsibility,
Yeah, I mean, that's a big one.
I mean, there's really, I mean, there's nothing more important than taking responsibility for your life, for your existence. You know, if you're if you're walking around thinking about yourself only all the time, your life is going to suck. So, maybe learn how to think about other people and think about how because every single one of us has the ability to make a positive impact in other people's lives. But most of us, not all, but most people don't give a crap about other people's lives. They're more concerned about their stuff, their problems, their challenges, and their autopilot lives. And they don't stop and think, gee, I could share this thing out and help out Ken and Phil, and I could go out and help the little old lady down the street with her flower bed, or whatever. I mean, get out of yourself. I try to every client of mine that comes to me with their ass on fire about something, I go, the fastest way to solve your problems is go find somebody else and help them solve their problems, and yours will magically take care of itself.
And this is not my quote, ladies and gentlemen. This is something I borrowed from my lovely guest. He feels that it's his duty and obligation to show up and serve. So I thought that was appropriate for where we are ending here. Do more for others than you do for yourself, and what you do for others will fill your purse with whatever abundance it is. You can use money, it could be hearts, happiness, it's spiritual cup, whatever it is. That's a Zig Ziglarism, but I twisted a bit.
It's literally, so Tom Ziegler, Julie Ziegler, and Cindy Ziegler, Zig's kids, are all friends of mine. And I was at Ziegler headquarters a few years ago, and Tom gave me this book. Kyle Wilson is the creator of this, who was Jim Rohn's business partner for 18 years. But it's called The Treasury. Oh, that's Brian Tracy. I'm holding up the wrong one. That's a good one too. But this is the one I was referencing,
Right.
Zig Ziglar's little book of big quotes. And in the very front of this thing, it says it right there. There's my life purpose. You can have everything in life you want if you will just help enough other people get what they want. Zig Ziglar. Teodora, you're awesome. Teodora. So, Phil, I don't want to make your show run over.
But it's been really worthwhile running over, going overtime. It's fantastic.
We're in the OT zone.
We're in the OT zone.
Yeah.
Anyway, what a great guest you are. And thank you
Thank
for
you.
fitting me into your schedule and making it happen. It's awesome. With that, I'm going to put you in the green room. Hang around for a bit and we'll
get rid of me.
Yeah, I'm putting you. Enjoy the coffee or whatever's there.
I will. Thank you.
Wow, what a great show. We went overtime, but you know what? It was chock full of great value. So if you saw this live, thank you for being here with us today. And if you didn't and you're catching it on the replay, let us know, #replay. And if you know of somebody who would be has a message that you want to help share and get out there, make an introduction to us at the Business Renovator. We'd be happy to have a conversation, and let's change the world one show at a time. With that, last thing I want to do is bring up this, because the you in wonderful represents you for two reasons. You are unique, so go out and act like it.
I get shit done, I have fun. It's my time and I'm the one. I'm breaking through.